Okay, thank you. Great, thank you very much, Luciano. Well, welcome along, everyone. Final school forum for this academic year. We have got a bit to get through. Firstly, before we go into apologies, Luciano, is there any apologies that you've received? Yeah. Yep. Morning, Linda.
Good morning.
I think that was everyone, isn't it? Before we start, because sometimes I forget this at the end, we have got 3 people this will be their final school forum. So Carol, Karina and Sarah, who are stepping down. All 3 have been quite long-standing members, all have made significant impact and positive impact with school forum and involvement in various task and finish groups. They will be sorely missed, but I just want to take the time just to thank them for all their work and everything that they've offered school forum over the years, and we wish them all the best. Some of them are going to retirement, so enjoy the next part of your life. So thank you, those 3, for all your work that you've done with school forum. But just wanted to start with that today. Otherwise, we get to the end, and with AAOB, sometimes we miss it. So I just wanted to recognise the work that those 3 had done with school forum over the years. So thank you very much. Right, firstly, we need to look at the minutes from the last meetings. We're just looking for any corrections, accurate corrections that need to be made. So just looking at page 1, if there's anything there. No. Page 2. Lovely. Page 3. Page 4. And page 5. Nothing. There was nothing significant there, I think, on actions to be done, apart from looking at progress of negotiations with health about funding, but I'm sure that will come up through one of the reports today.
Yes, indeed, Brian. They will come up in our update on SEND, some positive development. Jonathan will cover that.
Lovely. Thank you, Ming. Right. Is there any declarations of interest? No, lovely. So if we move first to the revenue outturn report. Not sure who's going to be leading on that one today.
I'll lead on that one, Brian. Morning, everyone.
Lovely.
Share my screen. Hopefully you can all see that.
Yes, we can.
So when we last met, I think it was back in March, we were forecasting a 12.2 million deficit. Unfortunately, when it came to year end, that gap had widened by £800,000, and the main factor being the health funding, or the lack of it, and I believe Jonathan will go into that later. But overall, brought forward with our deficit of 9.2 and the safety valve funding of 1.72, we landed on a cumulative DSG deficit of 20.4. So the pressure definitely continues. If I go over the key points, the schools block, we did have some slight underspend in the delegation. That's notoriously difficult to forecast, as it's based on payroll and things that happen in the year. So that will be carried forward to this year. And similarly, growth fund, that was slightly underspent as well, and that will be carried forward. Moving on to the high needs block, that's where 99% of the pressure is being felt. And updates compared to the last forecast is really in the in-miss sector. That's where we'd hoped to get those health contributions. We had about 775,000 that we were hoping to secure. Unfortunately, that hasn't materialized in the time frame, and there is some good work, encouraging work going on in that space, but we thought it prudent to remove it. So that was the majority of the variance. Earliest block on budget, and the other point to note really is in the central school services block, we've had amounts for particular expenditure that have been there for some years, and I think they may be slightly outdated, so we do need to review that. But there was a 40 grand variance with regard to our contracts, system contracts, most notably Capita. So that played a part as well, but compared to the high needs block, it's fairly immaterial. So yeah, overall for last year, a cumulative deficit of 20.4, and as we spoke throughout the year, that's significant increase on the safety valve budget, and we continue to see that pressure. Thank you.
Thank you, Al. Has anyone got any questions or comments? Okay, no, thank you. Right, maintain schools budget. Al, are you going to be leading on this one again as well?
I believe that's my colleague Angela.
Angela, okay. Thanks, Angela.
You're on mute, Angela.
Yes, it's the maintain schools balances, which is just a summary of the end of year position for our maintained schools. I will share my screen. Hopefully people can see that.
Yeah.
Which is the paper that we put to the forum. This just sets out the movement in the year. Now that we've almost completed our work on the maintained schools, the balances have decreased 1.2 million over the year. That's a combination of changes within the sector in terms of schools academising and taking revenue reserves with them. We also saw a number of schools have outturned deficits in the year, but also within that we have 11 schools that had reductions in their reserves. So although they have positive reserves at the year end, we've seen that they have in-year deficits. So we've got a combination of factors that have fed into that reduction in the year-end reserves. In terms of the deficit school position, this is something that we're addressing within the team at Wokingham. We've got a deficit recovery programme underway where we're talking to the schools that are currently in deficit, and we're also starting to target schools that have had in-year deficits to try and manage that position. I wasn't going to go through the appendix because that's got quite a lot of detail and everyone's had a chance to see it. So yeah, does anybody have any questions? No, I can't see any hands up.
No. Yes, we have got a hand up. Darren, you go first.
Hello. Just a minor point on the previous point. In point 4, it says that revenue balances have increased, whereas in this point it says it's decreased. So I think there's a change in the table.
Is it a typo maybe?
Yeah, it's back on page 14. No, 15 on point 4. Balances held on behalf of individual maintained schools increased by 1.2, but it should be decreased.
Oh yes. Yes, it should be. Yeah, it is a decrease as I outlined.
That's okay. All right.
Well
Cheers.
spotted. Thank you.
Apologies.
During a pre-meet, we had quite a bit of a discussion around this. Looking at the membership, there's only, with Carol leaving, there's only going to be 2 maintain representatives on this. So we're thinking maybe in time there maybe need to be a bit of a task and finish group looking into this and looking about how as we're going to move forward on it, because academies are obviously quite different, so that we don't know about the deficits and that involved because that's all under the various trusts. But I don't know whether Al or Angela, you want to go through about how you are working with these schools that have got deficits, what your plan is moving forward to ensure that not more schools will be causing concern as we move forward.
Sure. Yeah. So as Angela alluded to, we've incorporated this sort of escalation policy, which outlines to the schools and internally what we need to do and the process that needs to be followed when we believe schools are in financial difficulty. So we're rolling that out with a number of schools at the moment. It includes a deficit recovery plan, which is a spreadsheet that contains a whole host of information in order for us to do some analysis and support the school and guide them wherever we can. We can also include external sources such as the SRMA to help out and audit, with the plan being that the deficit recovery plan will be signed off by the Chair of Governors and the DCS, and will then increase the frequency of our budget monitoring rhythm in order that, you know, we're supporting where we can and we're identifying any risks and opportunities along the way. In tandem with that, yeah, we'd like to set up a task and finish group with mainstream school members to really just discuss you know, the difficulties that we're facing and how we can work together to get some resolutions.
I do think so. I know we talked about caps and various things, but I think that would be good amongst the maintained schools. So I don't feel that academy schools should be really involved in voting on that part of the operations. Carol, you had your hand up. Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to make the comment that I don't know what the academies are doing, but the only way that the maintained schools that we're speaking to are managing to balance budgets is by coming up with solutions that are very detrimental to teaching and learning. And that just has to be noted. You know, we've heard stories of classes of 38 in Key Stage 2, schools with no teaching assistants. That cannot be the way forwards. We need to look at the quality of teaching above the balancing the budgets. Just my comment.
Thank you, Carol. I'm sure it's been noted. But I think that's a conversation that each school is possibly having currently at the moment. So, because the biggest cost is staffing, isn't it? Let's be honest. So it's about how we're managing that and how we're moving forward on those aspects. So, but I think a task and finish group amongst the maintained schools looking at that with Al and Angela would be a good step forward. So something that we could set up possibly in the very first meeting in November. When we've hopefully got some new members, and we do need some more maintained members on School Forum that will give you the group that you need to work forward with on this, which could become quite a pressing problem if we act on it soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. No other comments here? No. Revenue monitoring report, I think is what we're up to now.
So that's me again.
Yep.
Let me share. So a very similar situation to last year. We are forecasting an in-year deficit of just shy of 15 million, 14.9, and that pressure is solely in the high needs block. So overall, that will bring us to a cumulative deficit of 33.6 million. So quite the jump. It's worth noting that the budget figures are based on the original safety valve models, and we are sort of reviewing that to make it more reflective of the current situation. Again, moving on to the main points. Schools block currently on budget. Worth noting though, we do have this brought forward contingency fund. It's only 55,000, but it's been brought forward for a number of years and hasn't been used. So we'd like to put it to Forum that we'd like to use it to help schools in financial difficulty. And if they could bring business cases forward for approval and discussion at Forum and get those approved to release that money and use that money. Moving on to the growth fund, we've got a budget of around 1.5 million, including the brought forward reserves, and there's more information in the appendix. High needs block, this is where, you know, all the pressure is. Unsurprisingly, INMIS continues to outweigh the other sectors. The figures look big compared to budget. We're 2.4 million over. And we have seen quite an increase in the run rate over the last sort of 3 or 4 months. So that is building steam. And again, in EOTAS AP, we've been fairly prudent in that area. We see it as a growing area. So our forecast hopefully is quite big, and there could be some returns on that. But we'd like to play it safe at this moment in time. Early years block and central school services block, they're on budget. Nothing to report there. So yeah, overall, the gap is unfortunately widening from that 20.4 to 33.6. But as hopefully Jonathan will allude to later, there's lots of initiatives, work streams, projects ongoing to slow down the growth rate. And we are seeing some encouraging signs in the number of EHCPs that are coming on board. They are slowing. So we're hoping that we'll see a stalling in the growth rate, both numbers and cost base in the DSG and the high needs block. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, Al. Just going back to that contingency idea, with it going through business day, do we need to vote on that firstly to actually approve to go forward, Ming? Or Lucida, could you? Because this amount was originally, lots of schools were putting money forward into this, weren't they? So if it is, yeah.
We assumed a vote would be needed, but haven't confirmed that.
Okay. Yeah, so considering all schools have contributed this fund over the years, including Academy, I think it's whether all schools on School Forum vote towards whether they are happy for this money, the contingency, to be used for business case studies to help them maintain schools who may be facing financial difficulties. Karina, do you want to offer a comment first?
Yeah, I just wondered what the mechanism will be, Brian, for who makes the decisions around the allocation of the money.
We had, there was a precedent. We had done this before. We've had schools apply, and so they've got to present the business study, and then come to School Forum, and then we would, I was assume, vote whether that we feel that's a fair case, and then depending on what money is, but it might not be that we can give the full amount. It might be only the amount. We'd have to come through here at School Forum. Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, Karina. Yeah. Phil.
Thanks, Brian. Is there a set template or format to present business cases for those people to do it, just so there's like a clear criteria of what's being looked for?
We haven't in the past, but Al, if you liked.
I think we could probably support in that. Yeah, Phil. I think there'll be a template that we can send over or circulate.
I think to make it. Thank you. Yeah, I think to make it manageable for us as Schools Forum to be able to be given the right information to make an informed decision, and also for those schools who want to put forward a case, it would allow them to work within a framework that doesn't make it unmanageable for them and knows really what we're asking for and what the parameters are. So if that was possible, that'd be great.
Yeah, sure.
That's a really good suggestion. I think we can follow it up. I'll come up with a template.
Yeah, a bit different.
Thank you.
I mean, I think we're going to be wary of the fact that it's only for maintained schools. There is only a small part. It's only 55,000, so it's not going to go far. Let's be honest. So we just have to look at what an equitable solution will be for some of these as well. So if we go through the vote now and then look at, let's get the members up here. Yes or no, whether you agree that this contingency should be used for maintained schools for business case studies. So start, Andy, are you on the call?
Yes.
Thank you, Andy. Angela, you can't. Carol?
Yes.
Thank you. Catherine? No.
Yes.
Thank you. Karina?
Yes, Brian.
Thank you. David? You're on mute, David.
Yes from me.
Thank you, David. Darren?
Yes, from me, Brian. Thank you.
Thank you, Darren. Deborah?
Yes, from me, Brian. Thank you.
Ian Morgan?
Yes, Brian.
Thank you, Ian. Jamie? No, you can't vote. Jonathan, you can't vote. Kerry?
Yes, that's fine.
Kerry, Liz.
Yes, approved.
Thank you. Linda.
Yes.
And Julia.
Yes, for me too.
Thank you. And it's yes from me as well. So that's unanimously gone through. Thank you very much, everyone. Anything else you want to add on that front?
No, that's all from me in that regard. Thanks.
Well, sorry, Shirley. I didn't call you out.
It's a yes for me as well.
Thank you, Shirley.
No worries.
Yes, for me too.
Oh, sorry, you went on my list for whatever reason. Maybe on. You did go further down.
Yes, for me as well.
Lovely, thank you.
It's all right. We'll yell if we disagree.
Yeah, I thought you might. Right, I think we'll go a pretty unanimous decision there anyway. So thank you very much. Right, Growth Fund update.
So unfortunately, Piers can't be with us today, who normally shares the detail on the Growth Fund. All the information is in the appendix that was published. So I suppose if there's any queries or issues, if people could get in touch with either myself or Piers directly, that would be appreciated.
Thank you. Is there any comments from that report that anyone's seen like to raise now? Daryl.
Just a minor point, and what I seem to raise at every forum, Pigott is 46, not 45. For all 3 years there. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Aaron. Fair point. No other comments? No. Okay. We're on to the DSG management plan, safety valve. So, Jonathan, I'm guessing this is you.
Yes, this will be me, and I'll take us through a presentation. I'll just share my screen.
Are you going to do this and go through to the budget planning timetable as well? Is that all when you've got the next 2 agenda items, I think?
No, that would be Angela. Angela will take us through those last two.
You had me worried then, Brian. I thought I wasn't ready for that, but no, I'll do the presentation.
Lovely, thank you.
Can people see that yet?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Great. Well, I'll start. I mean, I've avoided going through huge infinitesimal details, so I've got quite a lot of slides. I'm going to skim through most of them, but I'll start with the headlines. That seems the main thing. Headlines in terms of positive and not so positive headlines. So I think the thing we can't afford to lose sight of, despite all the many pressures we're facing, is that schools across Woking are continuing to deliver very positive academic outcomes for pupils with SEND. Are compared to all the comparators, as we continues to be seen, our pupils with SEND do better. And this is not just those with the EHC plans, but those at SEND support do significantly better than all our comparators. So the pressures on us are horrendous. We all must acknowledge that, financial pressures, but schools are continuing to perform far better than our comparable areas in relation to outcomes for SEND learners. The demand for the EHC plans has been and had been for the last year levelling out. We were more or less keep on track with our safety valve estimates. We were never saying we'd reduce EHC plan numbers, and the demand for them has been levelling out. But we are seeing the last couple of months, we're seeing a big spike. So that may not remain the case. But for the moment, certainly for the last year, things have been broadly on course to turn the corner. But we know that we think in the next reporting cycle, we're beginning to worry that that's having a bit of seeing another spike in demand. There's a lot of investment in different support measures for schools, and we're getting some very, very positive feedback in a number of those areas. I'll go into some more detail in a moment. Timeliness of our EHC plan, issuing plans and so on, including exceptions, has improved from previous years. So in terms of the system's ability to sort of maintain keep up with the pressure, we're seeing that's timeliness is good. SEND exclusions reduced year to date by 40% compared to last year. So again, some really, really positive improvements there for learners with SEND. And we're seeing positive change in absence rates. Obviously, one of the big concerns has been how many pupils are out of school altogether. And actually, we're seeing major improvements in that in both primary and secondary, both at EHC plan and SEND support level. So in terms of those outcomes for individual learners, we're seeing some really, really, sustained improvement across the schools, which we have to recognise. I'm going to move into sort of some of the some of the individual activities and areas to report on. First thing to say is yesterday, corporate leadership agreed an increased investment in the SEND team and the EP services. We've been planning this for some time, making the case for some time that we need additional investment in the SEND team and our EP service. That has been agreed. That's not coming from DSG, that's coming from council's own funding. So I can't tell you exactly how much, but I think Ming said it's to the degree of about $750,000, 750k increased investment across the board from council investment. That will undoubtedly help to address increases in demand and sustain our timeliness, and also means the EP service will be able to focus on, at the moment they're so drawn into statutory processes, but they're going to be able to release some capacity for preventative work, which is of course where we want to see them put in their efforts, and undoubtedly that improve liaison with schools. But I know it's been a sustained feeling from schools that the SEND team, too much inconsistency in staffing there, that will help address that, and we'll definitely aiming to see a sort of individual key point of contact on individual for schools going forward. I know I've been saying that for a while, but that's now been agreed in terms of funding for that. Area Senko, hopefully most of you have become aware of our fairly recently appointed Area Senko. She's been making cracking progress in terms of Senko support. I think she's visited probably 3/4 of the schools now. Have seen her. We've been doing Senko surgeries and regular Senko meetings, and really good rates of attendance at those Senko meetings. I think hopefully if you speak to your Senkos, they'll be reporting really positive impact there. She's been reviewing the ordinarily available provision with a lot of Senkos involved in that piece of work. I've spoken previously about why that's such an important piece of work in terms of consistency across the patch. We're coming up with a more coordinated SEND training offer, so it's easy to find what's available and secure that. That'll be on the school's hub, so we're in one place rather than having to sort of shop around in different areas. Senko induction program, we're having a good, in terms of getting Senkos in and sustaining them in schools. We're having a good uptake of our Senko induction program. And the Senko bring a lot of resources together in terms of the website. So hopefully your Senkos are beginning to see a real improved and enhanced level of support for Senkos across the patch. And we hope that will improve retention of Senkos and also recruitment of new Senkos into the sector. Specialist outreach, as I've reported previously, we invest in Highwood, Addington and the Foundry. We've increased investment in our outreach offer, and we're seeing really good levels of uptake from across the patch. So obviously the speech and language outreach is a new service. That's, I think, so far worked with I think it's now up to 30 schools. Very positive feedback on that, and that's helping to address some of those shortfalls in speech and language access to speech and language therapy services. So that's really helping there. Addington have seen significant increased uptake on their services, and the Foundry similarly supporting around 120 primary age and 47 I've not got the secondary there, sorry. I mean, they're basically increased uptake across primary and secondary. Both Addington and the Foundry have been particularly focused on supporting. We know we've got a lot of complex pupils in mainstream schools who, when we develop our specialist provision, will probably end up in special school. But there's a good level of support, and if any schools have got experiencing challenges, do let us know, because both at Addington and the Foundry have been able to offer some additional support to sustain some of those placements, which can be challenging. And obviously all those services providing some training as they have done previously. The banding, I'm sort of doing a bit of a quick sort of pit stop tour of all the various initiatives I've spoken about here previously. So I'm assuming some prior knowledge, but we've talked about the significance of the banding review. That's continuing to progress. We're still looking for a September soft launch of a new model. We're going to run that in parallel with the old system, just to make sure it doesn't lead to any unexpected anomalies. Obviously, we need to make sure every school is prepared for those shifts in the funding and the banding system when it comes. So that's progressing as it's on course. I know schools have been involved in that piece of work, and that remains. It's a very dynamic and delicate process, getting those new bandings correct so it doesn't disrupt level of provision in schools, but also enables us to have a more sort of transparent and consistent way of funding EHC plans going forward. It is progressing well. I won't dwell on that. That's a rather busy slide. There's significant work underway with the Foundry in terms of our use of AP and really making sure we've got a higher quality in our alternative provision, and that we're really governing the usage of it in a slightly more controlled way, and that schools have got more assurance in terms of the quality of what's out there and what they're commissioning. That's the sort of right hand side. On the left hand side is also how we use the Foundry to best effect. we've been a sort of it's described as a soft launch of a new multi-agency panel. I think they've had I'm not sure how many meetings. They've so far seen quite a lot of referrals of cases that are causing challenges to schools. Obviously been huge demand for those places, but there've been really positive feedback from those sessions in terms of advisory support and help back to schools who have got some difficult placements. The aim there is to ensure that the pupils that most need the family support get it, but that those that can be sustained in school are getting that support and advice they need. That has, as I say, had really good feedback from that multi-agency inclusion panel. I'm hoping that'll be rolled out further into from September. This is, again, I can't give as much detail here as I'd like to. This was the query around how much health are contributing, particularly to some of those more complex cases. We have had quite a few breakthroughs in the last few months, but I can't give you a figure exactly how much. I mean, it's in the hundreds of thousands, but we are still in debate with a number of cases, and it's quite dynamic. So I don't want to give a figure at this point in time, but we have had breakthroughs, and we're also working in a far more comprehensively joined up way with our health colleagues, particularly at that most complex end of the spectrum. That we've made major changes to our dynamic support register, which is where the most high risk cases are proper management and scrutiny from multi-agency support. That's to minimise, psychiatric inpatient intake, but also means we're getting that better connectivity around those more complex and more vulnerable young people. So that there hasn't been standardised practice across Berkshire, and we're moving towards that now, and that's certainly been a major improvement in recent months. So again, for those at the more complex end of the spectrum, there's major improvements there. We will obviously be able to report in future on exactly how much we've secured in terms of health contributions at individual case level, but I'm afraid I can't. I know Brian will probably be disappointed with not reporting a figure, but it's, as I say, there have been breakthroughs in that area, and it's increasing on a fairly regular basis. So we are seeing some major developments there, but I can't give a figure, I'm afraid. Where do we need to continue? What are the pressure points we're particularly acutely aware of? What needs, what are we really particularly focus on at the moment? As I think has been reported here previously, I don't know that we were able to confirm this last time, but DfE have more or less confirmed now that our 2 new free schools will be delayed until September 2027. That has a dramatic impact on our local position, particularly in terms of that sustained demand for independent sector placements, because that is the pressure point that's really undermining our efforts. We are still having to make more placements in the independent sector, and we are frankly going to see we're going to have a shortfall in special school placements until at least 2028-29, when those 2 new schools, because obviously they won't open at full capacity, they'll develop their capacity, and we are, there's no question in terms of the profile, we've got major challenges on our hands, and we've really all got to pull together in minimising those independent sector placements, because that's what's going to undermine the system. Underpinning that, as I said previously, we've still got that inconsistency at Sensiport and the EHC plan level. As I said, we're taking measures on that, but that's remains too variable. We've got pressure on the sort of parent demand in terms of mediation and tribunals. Those numbers are still increasing, and as you'll be well aware, we've still got significant delays in terms of diagnostic pathways for autism and ADHD, and we are well aware from schools that timeliness of therapies input can be a real challenge, and we're working very closely with health on. There's been a review of the therapies offered locally, and we're working alongside health to make sure that obviously we've done something about that with our Highwood Commission in terms of that speech and language outreach, but we want health to more alongside us in terms of making sure we've got that consistency of offer and availability. So yeah, on a number of fronts, there continue to be major pressures. It's got to be acknowledged. I could pause there. I also wanted to highlight, I mean, this isn't really schools forum business, but I wanted to highlight that we've launched our Send and Inclusion strategy and the All Age Autism strategy for consultation. Those are open now. I can circulate. I mean, I don't think that's probably the time for that, but shall I take any questions on before I share that detail?
Ming has his hand up at the moment.
I can wait until Jonathan finish.
Has anyone got any questions at this point for Jonathan? Because I have.
I'll stop sharing. I mean,
yeah, that's for now. Yeah,
I can come back to the strategy.
There's quite a bit of information sort of shared there. Has anyone got any questions at this stage for Jonathan?
In that case, while people are thinking about it, if you don't mind, Brian, I just come in to just to echo what Jonathan just presented, what I would like to highlight that despite continued challenge and the nationwide, the same challenge, we have come a long way as a partners, as partner school, social care, education teams, and health colleague. All those progress Jonathan just highlighted. What we have learned from that is working together between school and other partners from outset, always be more productive instead of one subject local authority design how to do it. So partnership is really strong point throughout all this. So another thing just want to add, Jonathan just said about health contribution, we have make really good progress because quite complex, many cases involved. There are social care element, education element, and health element. Now the positive thing is health start to contributing, but we need to find out the exact impact internal, particularly on SEND, high need funding, because each case is so complex. That's why I think we still are working on that. That's just my addition to what Jonathan just said.
Thank you, Ming. Thank you. Jonathan, just a couple points. Sorry. Firstly, we can see the progress that's been made, and from where we were 18 months to 2 years ago is a substantial change, which is brilliant. But a couple of things. Health. Are we ever going to find out what they're contributing or not?
The complexity is the contribution. It's about how much that will impact on high needs block, because I think I can give you a figure in terms of what they contributed, but because it's a mixed picture in terms of some of its social care, it's that tripartite funding. This is in the arena of tripartite funding. So determining how much of that will actually matter to Schools Forum is what I'm not able to do today, and therefore I wanted to be a bit cautious because but yes, we will be able to determine exactly what that means from an educational perspective, because I think I could talk about the local authority perspective, but that doesn't that's not necessarily Schools Forum interest. It's about how it will impact on education funding, and that's what needs a bit more work before we can report.
Yeah, okay, I could take that point. The financial impact for schools with this is still great. If you were, I know you're talking about reducing the amount of EACPs, but that again is putting pressure on schools. School leaders are also looking at financial burdens. They're also looking at the SEND provision, and without so if this trajectory will keep going on, EACPs being less or the threshold being higher, where's the support for schools? Because there is a pressure point and schools are really feeling it right now. And I think that's what they're looking at as the here and now. Maybe in time it might get easier, might be better, I don't know, but right now schools can't see a way forward in some of these areas.
I mean, as you know, there are many measures in place to support schools in terms of what happens below EHC plan level to make sure you can get that support and that help earlier to equip schools. But I also fully acknowledge, as was said earlier, the financial pressure schools are under. We're in a difficult and challenging position, and there's no point pretending it will remain challenging for the next few years. When we are doing everything we can to implement and support, ensure peer support between schools, and significantly increasing investment in our local authority services. But this is not something the authority can, it's, as Ming said, this can only be achieved by working together in a more collaborative way. And I think that will be, I think I would hope and expect every school will notice the difference in terms of what they're able to access already. But the pressure remains, as the pressure is still there. I absolutely acknowledge that.
Yeah, I get the answer hope, but I think on the cold face, I think a lot of schools are really feeling it and maybe not noticing the impact quite as much as you'd hope. Ming.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. That's exactly what Jonathan said. I think all those development actually is a sort of indirect way to support school, not exactly giving out money, but for example, AEP remodeling, this multi-agency inclusion clinic. The feedback I have from schools so far attended is very, very positive. We have over 30 cases for the pilot panels. And all cases receive some resolutions to point, not necessarily all go to AP. Some of them get really multi-agencies, the expert being there to provide advice to each other. And that's really promising. That's something I think indirectly kind of a sort of empowering school, giving the tool to address some inclusion issues. Yeah, but I fully recognize, I think the financial pressure on school, on everyone is still great.
Yeah, I mean,
Brian,
sorry, you go, yeah.
Sorry, Brian. Just to say, I think probably something I didn't emphasise enough or didn't highlight enough. I know we've got the delay of the free schools. That is hugely disappointing to all of us. But we do have more. The SEND units and resource bases. We've got 2 new primary bases opening in September. We'll have an announcement very shortly, I'm sure. We'll be not quite there, but on a secondary base to follow. We would anticipate we're still on time to make that available the year after, September 2025. So it's not that there's no new provision appearing, and obviously Oak Tree itself is still expanding and will go up to full numbers full size next year. So it's not that there's no new provision appearing on the horizon. It's just the big shift, the 2 new schools, is a bit further down further back than we expected. We're still progressing with the SEND resource spaces and units, and we still welcome our interest from schools, because I think we know we're going to need that provision. There's no question. And I think the experience of the 2 schools who've been gone down that path has been really positive, been really, really good partnership work there, and we would really encourage schools to come forward, because we all need more. We need to keep on that trajectory and keep growing that provision, because that's what's going to free up space in our existing special schools by taking some of those, those learners who can cope at mainstream but need a smaller class sizes. We can do that. We can do that together, and that will really help alleviate that pressure.
Yeah. No, thank you, Jonathan. No, I know how hard you guys are working. We can see the progress, but there's still obviously little areas of concern to schools. So just better raise them. Lovely, thank you. Is there anyone else? Just me today. Sorry. All right, thank you, Jonathan. So on to the DSG budget planning timetable. Is that you?
Yes, that's me again. I'm just going to share my screen. Hopefully everyone can see that. It's the paper that was with the pack. Just a quick highlight really about the budget setting for next year. Oh, I noticed the dates wrong there. The background to it, as you know, the task and finish groups were established last year, I believe. And really this paper is just setting out the membership of the task and finish groups for the various blocks, the schools block, early years and the high needs. Obviously we've got some movement in our membership that Brian outlined at the beginning of the meeting. Really what I wanted to bring to the group's attention is the membership of those task and finish groups, and to see if we need to consider adding any more members to those, or if there are any other volunteers. I'm not quite sure what the protocol is for people to join the task and finish groups, but obviously they're a key part of the arrangements for the budget setting and the information that comes to this group later in the year. So really that's all I kind of had to say about the budget setting process.
Okay. With the task and finish with the schools block, I think, Darren, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you're still chairing that meeting. You're on that group.
Mm-hmm.
I believe so, Brian. Happy to.
Yeah. I'm not going to take that one away from you. So that's actually Darren's. Right, he's taking that one. I'm still on that group, but Darren chairs it. But yeah, we will look at the membership of those groups. That's one of the first things we do in the meeting in November. So please, if anyone wants to join a different group or be part of a group, please let us know in November, because that's where a lot of the really good work goes in behind the scenes that we bring to School Forum. That's already completed, and it's been really successful in the past. So no, thank you for that update, Angela. That's great, thank you. Any other comments regarding that? No, okay. Consultation arrangements.
Yeah, that's me again. Really, this was just to bring the scheme for financing schools back to this group. We need to refresh it every year in line with the DFE changes. Again, as set out in the paper, the only proposed change was a minor one, which is a financial reporting, which changes the terminology of leases. So we don't distinguish between operating and finance leases anymore. They're just all classified as finance leases. So we've made that change in the document, and that's the only change that we're bringing this time to the group.
Lovely.
So we're asking the group to approve that change.
So again, we'll need to go for a vote on that one. Also, thank you, David and Linda, for your volunteering. So we just need to go through and vote and just work out whether everyone approves that change. So if I just go through, hopefully I'll get everyone this time. Andy? Oh, sorry, we can't hear you there, Andy.
Yeah.
Yeah, got you now. Thank you.
Yeah, approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Carol?
Agreed.
Thank you. Catherine?
I don't think I'm supposed to vote. I'm a councillor.
Oh no, sorry, Catherine. Yep. Karina?
Oh. Well. Yes.
Thank you. Karina?
Yes, Brian.
Thanks, Karina. David?
Yes.
Thank you. Deborah?
Yes.
Thank you, Deborah. Darren?
Yes.
Thanks, Darren. Emma? Oh, sorry, Emma, you can't vote. Ian Thomas?
Yes.
Thank you. Ian Morgan?
Yes.
Jamie, you're not to vote. Jonathan, you can't. Kerry?
Agreed.
Thank you, Kerry. Liz?
Yes, a good change. Well done.
Thank you. Linda?
Agreed.
Thank you. Julia?
I think it's only just for maintained schools, because obviously it only affects maintained schools for the school financing, but I'm happy representing academy schools.
Thank you. Nikki?
Agreed.
Thank you. Phil?
Agreed.
Thanks, Phil. And Shirley? She would tell me if she was there, so she might be busy doing something. I agree as well, so that's unanimously gone through for you, Angela. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right, Ming, I'm guessing you're doing the update on the BEP. Okay.
I didn't know it was me. I think I'll do it. Yeah. It is bad, but I think we're moving. I think I'd like to give a very quick update. It's really grow progress. Again, this is another group, the partnership really show the impact on what we're doing. One of the key achievement, we have very clear priorities, which in line with all boroughs' priority in terms of SEND education's improvement. Give example like inclusion, the including SEND is one of the partnerships priority to address. School place plan, how to manage surplus in primary school and insufficiency at secondary school, like another priority. And then the third priority is a very challenging one, how to narrow the gap. As a borough, you know that we perform well in terms of education outcome, but when you drill down the data, I look at our disadvantaged children. When I say disadvantaged children, I mean the one who are entitled to free school meal or who have received free school meal in past 6 years. That's what the deal with how they define disadvantage. They are not achieving as well as their peer. I'm not talking about peer who are non-free school meal, the peer across the country. The gap is huge. So that's something quite rightly partnership also identified. And then the fourth priority, in order to do all this, we need to get information and data right. So data sharing, etc. That's one thing. Identify the priority areas priority, and not just local authority priority or one individual trust priority. That's always the starting point for strong partnership. Another thing is we identify clearly who should lead all those priority. Now we have all school leader actually leading those 4 work streams. Each of them have a school leader leading, supported by local authority officer. local authority also work together with school leader, all making good progress. As you can see that in regional report, internal sent today, school place planning, we should be working on primary school surplus, how we can to work together with school leader. Internal narrowing gap, we have great ambition across the partner to address the issue. We still have some way to go. What do we want to do? We want to find out more about exactly who we're talking about, how they perform, which disadvantaged group actually achieving better than other disadvantaged group, etc. There's still some work to do. We want to internal narrowing gap, which, as you can understand, is the challenge across the country. As far as I know, only a few London boroughs are doing quite well in terms of narrowing gap. Across the country is a big challenge. And also, we now move toward more sustainable system. In the past, probably you would think more kind of a local authority run, local authority funded support. Now, this group fund is chaired by independent chair has also we are working with the school leader to see how we can move into an even more sustainable, more school-led partnership system with a clear steer from local authority or from the borough. I think that's the progress I would like to report it. We have achieved good progress in all 4 priorities and still have some way to go into now narrowing the gap to sum it up.
Lovely. Thank you, man. But no, it's been a good partnership, and I think it's going from strength to strength. So I agree with you on the way that it's been achieved. It's been really good to see. So thank you. Right. So looking at the forward program, in November we've got the revenue monitoring report, the DSG Management Plan and Safety Valve update, DSG budget update, and also school forum membership review, and also include the chair and vice chair. Nominations, elections, and so forth. Is there anything else that we need to include, Luciana? Yes, especially in the maintained sector. I've got someone's come through for academies sector, who, another member, but which I will talk to you about afterwards. But yeah, we do need more maintained membership on school forums. So the various networks that can go out to the various networks and see if we can drum up some interest. Also amongst local advisory boards or governors as well, but we don't have any of those on board any currently. So if anyone knows anyone, that would be great. If you could let myself or Luciana know, that would be really helpful. Any other business? Prue, welcome.
Thank you, but I've been uncharacteristically silent. I just wanted to say thank you to everybody as we come to the end of the academic year for everything you've done this year on the Schools Forum, but also congratulations on getting to the end of your year just about in school. It's been a tough time. It's not getting any easier for schools. We've seen that reflected in the difficulties that some schools are having with their budgets now. But I hope you get a good rest over the summer. I know you work part of the summer and it's not just skiving off, but I hope you do get a chance to have a rest, and I look forward to seeing you in the autumn.
Thank you, Prue. Thank you for your input as well this year as well. Thank you. Jonathan.
I just wanted to mention that yesterday the council launched 2 public consultations on 2 different strategies, one of which is the Send and Inclusion strategy, and related to that, the All Age Autism strategy. I think that's going out to schools anyway directly, but I thought it was worth highlighting to members here that is unfortunate, the timing. We know we would never have chosen for it to go into school holidays in any normal circumstances, but the original planned timetable was delayed by the election, and we didn't want to wait to the autumn because there's been so much groundwork gone into this. And I think most schools have contributed and had a say, and many others have too. So we're not expecting any significant substantial changes through the consultation process. It's more about informing and giving people the right to let us know if we're on the right lines. I just wanted to encourage schools, if you can, if you've got any end of term newsletters or any opportunities to get that message out to your parent communities, we'd really appreciate that. I think some flyers came around yesterday to schools, so just thought I'd highlight that here again, just to emphasise that those will complete at the end of August, and we'll report back on get the final strategy signed off by in October executive. I won't go into any detail because I think I've discussed the detail of them previously, and there's no need to rehearse that again now.
Yes, thank you, Jonathan. Anyone else? Thank you.
Yeah, Brian, please allow me to add my thanks to everyone in the school forums, like effort. And really, I can see the partnership and collaboration is getting stronger and stronger. Thank you very much, and have a good rest when it comes, when the holiday comes.
Cheers. Thank you, man. Right, if that is everyone. Again, thank you to Carol, Karina and Sarah for all your work. Enjoy your retirements. And everyone else, enjoy the next couple of weeks as much as you can. And thank you for all your work again this year. And we'll see you all in November.